citizens to voice their concerns. In order to have an efficient and effective meeting, council and administration do not engage in conversation or debate. Please do not misunderstand our silence as a lack of concern. We understand that issues brought before us are emotional. Our council members and administration are open to discussion outside the confines of this meeting. Throughout this lobby session, we expect that you will remain civil and we do not tolerate personal attacks. If you do not follow these rules, you will be asked to leave. We allow each speaker 3 minutes to speak on the topic of their choice. When you approach the podium, please state your name and address for the record of our meeting. These rules have been in place for decades, and they will be adhered to strictly. We understand that many people would like to address this tonight regarding the recent actions of our Humane officers. However, we do have other business to conduct, so we will have lobby session open until 9 p.m. if necessary. And if there are others who would like to speak, we will suspend lobby, conduct our regular business, and then reconvene lobby. With that being said, the lobby is open. First up, we have Chief Freeman.
Introduce myself. I am Chief Freeman. I'm the North Ridgeville Police Chief here. I respect your emotions, feelings, and opinions, but unfortunately, sometimes being the Chief of Police, I need to deal with law, facts, policy, and procedure. With that being said, we will assess the current animal policies and make changes where they're needed. I urge you to give me time. This is going to take time. All right? I'm not the type of guy who's just going to do something to make the cameras go away. This policy we will look at is going to involve education, resources, alternative means of dealing with this ever-growing problem. Okay, the worst thing I can do for the citizens of North Ridgeville is to ignore the problem, because the problem is not going to go away by itself. Other issues I'd like to address in reference to this issue. I want to be very clear. There were no children present outside the home when this occurred. The children were inside the residence. Safety is paramount. Everything law enforcement does. As a chief of police, I am very confident in those that serve under me. How can I expect my officers to go into schools and homes, protect your lives, if I don't have the confidence for them to do what they need to do in the backyard of a residence? Lastly, we understand this is a very sensitive issue. A lot of law enforcement issues are. Whether it's reporting to a loved one that someone died in a motor vehicle, whether it be arresting somebody that brings embarrassment to them outside of the normal scope of an arrest. We understand how important it is to be sensitive when we do our duty. We're going to use this as a reminder that we need to be more sensitive and be cognitive of the fact that this is not what people deal with on a daily basis, but we do. Sometimes we are quick, do a duty, because we are used to that duty. But at the same time, we need to keep the complainant in mind when we do our duty. With that being said, thank you. Thank you.
First, we have Barbara Fox, followed by William Reinhardt.
My name is Barbara Fox, and I live at 5076 Mount Park Avenue. And I just want to say that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Whether the children were in or out, anything could happen, that bullet could have ricocheted or anything else. I think it's way past time for educating the entire group, including the council and everybody else. They made excuses for this man immediately, and that was wrong. Thank you.
William Reinhardt of 5977 Wallace Boulevard. I have two pieces of property. One has a barn on it and a long shed to store firewood in. Over the past 2 years, 3 years, there's been anywhere from 6 to 10 cats living in this shed. One time a window was knocked out of the garage door. I got to see a cat on the driveway hop through that window to get in the barn. They've had kittens in the barn. I'm very much in favor of getting rid of these feral cats. You folks recommend taking and having them neutered or spayed. Supposing we have 100 of them. There's probably more than that here in Ridgeville. Let's say you have 100 of them. You take and have them neutered and spayed. What are you going to do with them? Nobody wants them. They're feral cats. That's why they're feral cats. Nobody wants them. They're out there running wild. I've trapped them and had the humane officer come down and get rid of 3 of them, but my one neighbor was kind of opposed to it, so I quit trapping them, but I still have the cats. Even at my other property up the road, if I'm working in my garage with the garage door open, here comes the neighbor's cat walking in my garage. Why should that happen to me? I've had birds and chipmunks killed and laying on the floor of my barn. So I'm in favor of getting rid of the feral cats. I'm not opposed to how this happened at this residence or anything like that. I'm not speaking to that. I'm just speaking about getting rid of the cats.
Easy. Everyone has a right to their opinion.
We have Laura Smith, followed by Shelley Kiersey.
Speak into the microphone.
We can't hear.
I'm sorry, I've been a foster mom since '02 when I moved here in '01. I believe people should keep their cats inside. They're not wild animals that can't live in this world. However, I would like to know why this monster was not required to be here. So he has to hear the horror in most people's statements.
Yeah, where is he?
Yeah.
Where's the meter's
I
maker?
feel
It's her stick.
he should be sprayed. I think he should be fired. He's a monster. He doesn't deserve to be referred to as a humane officer because he's obviously not. I'm afraid I'm going to say words that will make me ashamed of myself at times quite often. So I will just say, fire this monster. There is no excuse for what he did. And you need to spay and neuter animal abusers. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, my name is Shelley Percy. I live at 37886 Stony Lake Drive in North Ridgeville. I'm here today to address the mayor, the city council, and the citizens in this room about my concern with the actions taken by the humane officer, Berry Accorti. I will be posing several questions for any or all of you to answer. But since I've been allotted only a 3-minute time period in which to speak, I'm asking you that you hold your answers until after I finish speaking. The gentleman just mentioned that he will not entertain questions at this time. I will give that list to each and every one of you on this board. You can answer them later on. On page 2 of this packet that you are going to receive is a definition of the word humane. For those of you who are not aware of that definition, it is compassionate, showing the better aspects of the human character, especially kindness and compassion, involving minimal pain, done without inflicting any more pain than is necessary, with emphasis on liberal values, with an emphasis on respect for other people's views, and the synonyms are compassionate, caring, kind, gentle, humanitarian, kindly, benevolent, benevolent and charitable. Mr. Accorti does not meet any of those requirements. I was able to speak with people of all ages at a rally that was held in North Ridgeville here last Wednesday. I spoke to a little girl who stood there with a sign, tears in her eyes. She must have been 7 or 8. She did not say a word. I thanked her for her presence. And she said, he killed those pigs. That's what we're teaching our children? I think not. Is anyone sitting on the council aware that there are guidelines published by the American Veterinary Medical Association regarding the euthanasia of animals? Since I believe you could not possibly be aware of the guidelines, given your lack of punishment toward the officer, I have included those guidelines in this packet. Were there any other alternatives considered before the murder was committed? Were there any shelters called by Humane Officer Accorti, or did he just assume that they were killed? Were any rescue agencies called? Is there a public record that can be viewed that states that he did do these things? Because at this point, I honestly don't expect anyone in this room to believe that those calls were made without proper evidence being shown. Mr. Mayor, you have determined that this incident should be considered a learning experience. And what education are we giving our children? Animals are disposable. Deem that something is a nuisance or unwanted, shooting is the method of choice for the disposal of the nuisance.
Kersey, start reading this one. You want to get that material, you that's that.
I just want to say one more thing.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
Time is up.
if you choose
Step
not
away
to
from
do
the
anything
podium.
else,
Thank you.
the petition for
Ginger,
recall will
that-
be in.
That's Lacus. And Sandra Barnes.
For the record, you did say my last name correctly, thank you. Good evening. I would like to thank City Council for giving me the opportunity to make a statement regarding the situation that has recently occurred. I've been a resident of North Ridgeville for the past 12 years, and this is the first time that I can honestly say that I'm ashamed to live in this city. I'm extremely disappointed not only with Officer Accorti's extreme handling of the situation, but also with several other city employees' support of those decisions. Is it truly the city's policy to kill all feral animals on site without question? Not only were Officer Accorti's actions reckless and extreme, for a humane officer who showed complete lack of good judgment, common sense, and compassion for both the kittens and the residents of the neighborhood. Putting down an animal in that manner should never be a first option. And it was in this case. But it should be reserved as a final option for self-defense or to end a wounded animal suffering. The number of humane options that you could have selected from are endless. Yet you chose to exterminate the kittens that were no threat to anyone. Is this really the image that you wish to portray the city as? I think it's quite obvious based on the reaction of the community that your policies involving feral animals must change. If you are truly the representatives of the people, you will begin to make the necessary changes that the community desires. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't hear you.
How do you know these cats were feral cats? They could have been just a regular cat. She could have been just a stray cat. Somebody could have lost their home, shoved the cat out the door and just go fend for yourself. They could have kittens. How do you know it was a feral cat? Even if it was, even if the mother cat was a feral cat, she could have mated with a regular stray cat, which would mean the kittens would be cat feral and cat stray. They could have had a good home. They could have been trapped in England and had a good home, given to a shelter. I think the police should be trained. You should train their officers on how to approach an animal. You probably scared the kittens to yesterday, and I thought of the kittens, they just down, and I read in the paper. And I wonder how many other animals that he killed, that probably is not in his file folder either. We don't know that. And if I were a resident of North Ridgeville, I would not vote in this city anymore, as I've done at Avon Lake when they're still talking about the deer culling. I'm not voting at Avon Lake because they haven't come to conclusion about that. If I were a North Ridgeville resident, I would not vote in this city unless it were an issue having to do with animals, until the officer was fired. He should be fined, at a very hefty fine, and until you do something on your books, get it straightened around on your books regarding the treatment of the animals. Thank you.
Newell and Ally Cunningham.
My point was in, so the next person I like.
Okay, thank you. After Ally Cunningham will be John Easter.
My parents moved to North Ridgeville in 1953 when I was 2 years old. I've been a resident up until the last several months. I still own property in North Ridgeville. I find what happened with Officer Accorti to be appalling. This is not the city that I grew up in. I have a friend who right now has a feral mother cat and 2 feral kittens living in her backyard. Interestingly enough, the feral cats that she has come to the door. They come when they're called. We can now pet 2 of them. There is room for everyone in this world, including feral cats. I am so ashamed of North Ridgeville right now. I'm ashamed of the publicity we're getting. I'm ashamed of the national publicity that we're getting. I don't understand how this could have happened. I heard recently that there have been other cats, feral cats supposedly, that have been shot in Frontier Park and also at the car wash on Center Ridge Road by Barton Road. If this is going on, I kind of have a feeling that this might be the tip of the iceberg. And if it is, there needs to be some house cleaning done. This is not right. We are supposed to be the stewards of those who have no voice to speak. We're supposed to be the stewards of those who are less fortunate than us. I happen to have one cat who has a very, very good home, and he was a stray cat. I found him at the convenience on Center Ridge in Barton, and he saved my life, just as much as I saved his. I'm not a crazy cat lady. I love dogs, I love horses, I love otters. But I have to say, this issue needs to be addressed. It's not, I can tell from the amount of passion in this room that if anyone in Howard in this room is going to attempt to sweep it under the carpet, I don't think it's going to happen. There are too many people here who are so incensed over what occurred. It is incumbent upon all of you sitting here in positions of power to deal with this matter and deal with it in an intelligent, fair manner. I don't think Officer Accorti is a monster. I think he made a horrible decision. Horrible, 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 and I would imagine he wishes he could take his back. I don't think Chief Freeman made a good decision. And I hope that that's going to be rectified. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for letting me up here to talk to people. I'd like to address the situation specifically.
Sir, could you tell us your name?
Oh, my name is Don Feaster. I'm on 755 Charlotte Drive, Brunswick, Ohio. And I'd like to address the mayor and the police chief, and if you have the safety director here. Mr. Mayor, this had to be a politically unpopular decision for this to come down for you to back this man, because 75% of households in America have a pet. So you gotta know this is near and dear to everybody's heart. Now, I'd like to know if people knew the difference between a feral cat and a stray cat. Was this a knee-jerk decision? Probably so. There's a force continuum, am I not correct, Chief of Police? There's a force continuum of use of deadly force to chase down human suspects. I guess there's an unwritten one also for animals. Time you use your weapon to dispatch an animal if they're sick, they're injured, or they pose an immediate threat to the public. There's a young lady over here that's got a placard with a picture of the kitties having dinner. Hold it up. Which one of the three do these qualify for the use of deadly force? It was just a matter of convenience. Now let me ask you another question too. If I were to go ahead and not want my pet and do the exact same thing, shoot him, I'd be on charges, wouldn't I? Mr. Mayor? Mr. Police Chief? Animal abuse? Discharging a firearm in city limits, which you police officers are allowed to do, although it was unnecessary. You guys are making excuses for this guy. Stand up and say, hey, geez, we made mistakes. Come on. Stand up and admit it. Make a mistake. You're going to change things. Mr. Mayor, I read your little article in the newspaper. When you back this guy, and all it makes it look is like the city here is full of good old boyism. You need to change things. You need to change things now. Thank you very much.
Trouble with the next answer. And right. Janet? Okay. Sure. All right, following consent, we have Vanille Martino.
My name is Janet Martino, and I'm also from Brunswick. And I'd like to say, I'm not continuing what I do, but number one, I'm very ashamed that North Ridgeville is within my neighborhood. I realize I'm in a different county, but every county in the United States, in the world right now, is having a problem with feral cats. What happened here is not the answer. There are approximately, these are accurate numbers, 10 million feral cats in the United States right now. What I want to know is, first of all, well, on a personal level, if I wasn't able to write notes out like most people, if I was this gentleman's supervisor, the mayor, etc., he would have been terminated instantly. Did he break the law? No, not yet. The law needs to change. The law is not good. And on a personal level also, I would prosecute